We don't need guys like you holding us back, she snapped, tossing her hair like it was nothing. My name is Stanley Rowe. I'm 59, and for the last 18 years, I was the operations manager at Harper Machinery, right here in Indianapolis. I wasn't one for big pronouncements or making a scene at meetings. I was just the guy who kept things running smoothly at a place that made industrial stuff for half the factories around here. I just gave a little smile, a nod, and left Vanessa's office. No fuss, no threats, no nothing. I just emptied my desk, slow and steady, while the younger folks kept their eyes down. Some of those guys, they'd started as kids, now they had families of their own. I trained every single one of them, but not a peep as I boxed up nearly 20 years of my life. Charles Harper, he'd built that company from scratch 43 years ago. Started with a single machine in his garage and turned it into a $30 million business through sheer determination and a rep for making good equipment. He'd chosen me to run things when he wasn't doing so well. You're the only one I trust to do things right, he'd told me back then. His daughter Vanessa, she was 28, with a business degree and 2 years in Miami, and she decided the company needed to modernize and get some fresh ideas. Which, as far as I could tell, meant getting rid of anyone who remembered how things were before they started using spreadsheets instead of their heads. So there I was, hauling that tiny box of my stuff to my truck, and this weird piece came over me. Vanessa had no clue, didn't even bother to look, that my contract had this killer clause in it. Charles himself had made sure it was there, to stop other companies from stealing me away. It said they'd owe me 2 whole years' worth of salary if they fired me without a good reason. I tossed the box in the passenger seat, sat there a minute, just staring at the steering wheel. Looking through the windshield, I could see the factory floor, all the machines I'd kept running, the systems I'd set up, the people I'd hired. They were about to find out what happens when all that experience walks out the door. I didn't make a scene, no tire squealing getaway. Just turned the key, shifted into drive, and went home. My first call was to Harold Preston, a lawyer buddy who'd been itching for a corporate case like this. I've never been one for drama. 29 years married to my wife Linda, before cancer took her 4 years back. 2 great kids, my son's an engineer in Denver, and my daughter teaches 3rd grade in Cleveland. My whole life's been about steady, reliable things, and that's how I ran things at Harper Machinery. Charles Harper was more than just my boss. He was, well, a lot more than that in a lot of ways. My dad took off when I was 11, leaving mom to raise 3 boys on a secretary's measly paycheck. So I never really had a father figure, you know. Then, when I was 41, I was laid off from that crummy auto plant, nothing but my hands and a community college degree in mechanical engineering. Charles took a chance on me. He didn't care about my fancy papers. During my interview, he said, "Credentials don't build machines, Stanley. Men with sense and skill do." Within 2 years, he'd made me operations manager. We weren't buddies, Charles and I, we didn't go fishing or grab beers after work. But there was this real respect, something deeper than just work. When my wife Linda got sick, he completely rearranged my schedule without me even having to ask. He made sure I could get her to every appointment. "Family first, Stanley," he'd always say. Always. The trouble started about a year ago. This woman, Vanessa, showed up at meetings. Fresh out of business school, all fancy leather portfolio and expensive perfume, spouting off about synergy and market disruption. I'd see Charles grimace sometimes at her ideas, stuff that would have totally wrecked our quality control or sent our parts overseas, things we always made ourselves. But he never said anything to her, not in front of anyone. He'd just quietly clean up her messes later. One day, he was leaning against my door and he said, "She needs to learn, Stanley. Some things you just can't learn from a book." The second red flag was when Charles said he was retiring like 3 months back. He said it was his heart, but I figured it was Vanessa getting to him. He looked like he'd lost when he gave me the new org chart, and Vanessa's name was at the top. He made her promise to keep the team, he said, not looking at me straight. "The experience you guys have is what makes this place go," he said. I just nodded, but my stomach did this weird thing, like Charles was hiding something, like he knew what was gonna happen but couldn't spit it out. The day after they fired me, I was at my kitchen table, looking over my contract with Harold when my phone rang. It was Charles. I almost didn't pick it up. Almost, but 18 years of knowing him, well, that's something, Stanley. His voice sounded rough. "What the hell happened yesterday?" he asked. "Ask your daughter," I said, keeping my voice even, not mad, just stating facts. He said he did, that I was, he paused like he didn't like the changes, Said you were undermining her authority with the floor team. I didn't say anything, just let the silence hang there. Charles knew I'd never do that. You're gonna file, aren't you? He finally asked. Already did, I told him. Harold Preston's taking care of it. Charles sighed, so I told her straight up to check the contracts. I warned her before I left that we had everything covered. Then a long silence. She said she'd done a big cleanup yesterday. Thomas, Jennifer, anyone over 50. My face went tight. Thomas, 12 years as head of engineering. Jennifer, she ran quality control, total queen of her domain. Both of them, impossible to replace. That's what you wanted, Charles, to get rid of everyone who built this place with you. He sounded beat when he said, "No, you know it's not that." But he went on, "I gave her the reins. It's her show now." I heard a bunch of noise on his end, and I recognized Vanessa's voice, loud and bossy as ever. He cut me off quick, "Gotta go, Charles," and bam, the call ended. I just sat there, staring at my contract spread out on the table. Section 12, paragraph 3. It was all there in black and white. If they fire me without a good reason and Appendix C spells that out, I get 24 months' salary. Harold had even marked it with yellow highlighter. He'd said it was bulletproof. Either they pay up or we go to court and win. And they'll be paying my legal bills too. I went to the window, looked out at the backyard. That maple tree, Linda and I planted it 26 years ago when we moved in. It's huge now, practically owns the place. We've saved it twice from lightning strikes, nursed it back from some awful disease. We did everything to help it grow. Something inside me just shifted. It had gone way beyond just the cash. This was about worth, about giving credit where credit's due for all the stuff people before you had built up, before you started trying to change things. I grabbed my phone and called Thomas, then Jennifer. By lunchtime, I'd talked to everyone Vanessa had canned, all the long-timers. Some were totally stunned, others were royally ticked off, and they were all stressed about what was next. "Just breathe," I told each of them. "Read your contracts, call Harold." Then I made one last call to Douglas Klein, who owned Precision Parts over on the other side of town. He'd been trying to steal me away from Harper for ages. "Still up for that chat?" I asked him. 3 days later, after getting fired, I was sitting across from Vanessa and Harper, the corporate lawyer for machinery, in an office downtown. Harold Preston was there too, his old briefcase open. "My contract," I said. Vanessa didn't even glance at it. "This is just ridiculous," she said. "We're going in a new direction, that's the reason." Harold, who'd seen it all in his 67 years, just pointed to the part I'd highlighted, cool as could be. "Termination without cause, as explained in Appendix C, means you owe severance. 24 months of salary, about 320 grand, for Mr. Rowe." The corporate lawyer, a kid fresh out of law school named Justin, read over the contract, looking more and more uneasy. "Ms. Harper," he said, "the definition of cause is pretty clear here. Problems with his work, breaking the rules, even criminal stuff. He just wouldn't change." Vanessa cut in, arms crossed tight. "That's flat out refusing to obey," she said. Harold asked, "Where's the proof, the paperwork?" "Written warnings, performance plans, all that," I answered. "Because Appendix C says you need a whole history of problems, not just one incident." Justin riffled through a skimpy file, coming up empty. Vanessa's face got hard. "Okay, fine," she said. "We'll give him a couple months severance and be done with it." 24 months, Harold corrected her. "Like the agreement says." "That's crazy," she snapped. 6 months, take it or leave it." I just sat there watching her. She looked so much like her dad in that moment. That same stubborn jaw. But Charles had always been stubborn about building something. Hers seemed like it was all about destruction. Harold snapped his briefcase shut. "Then we'll take legal action," he said. "The discovery process should be enlightening, particularly about all those other employees over 50 you let go at the same time." Justin's eyes went wide. He leaned in and whispered something to Vanessa, but she shrugged him off. "Before you start making threats," she told me, totally ignoring Harold, "you should know we're ready for a fight." "You'll be stuck in court forever." I finally said, "I have time. And we'll tell everyone in the industry how difficult you are," she shot back. "Good luck finding another job at your age." And that's when her father walked in. I hadn't crossed paths with Charles since the party they threw when he retired. He seemed to have lost weight, his skin was almost translucent, but his eyes were still laser-focused. "Vanessa," he muttered. "Just one word. We're in the middle of something, Dad, now." It wasn't a suggestion, they went outside. Through the glass wall of the conference room, I saw them going at it, Charles talking with his hands, Vanessa getting more and more defensive. When they came back, Vanessa wouldn't even look at me. Justin, Charles said. Get ready, get the severance agreement ready like it says in the contract. Dad, Vanessa started. Not now. Charles turned to me. I'm sorry, Stanley, this isn't how I wanted things to end. I just gave a small nod. Nothing else needed to be said between us. As Harold and I got up to leave, Vanessa blocked my path. This isn't over. I'm going to be looking at all the vendor relationships. Any company that hires you can forget about doing business with Harper. Charles went white but didn't say a word. I just nodded again, thinking about my conversation with Douglas Klein the day before and his partnership offer, and how we could finally get into that niche market that Harper had been ignoring for so long. The one Precision Parts was ready to take by storm. You're right about one thing, I told her. It isn't over. The severance payment showed up in my account a week later. $320,000 before taxes. More money than I'd ever seen in one lump sum. I should have felt like I won. But I didn't, I just felt empty. The money wasn't the point. It wasn't even about getting revenge. It was something deeper than that. That afternoon, I ran into Thomas Baldwin, our old engineering head, at a diner about halfway between our places. Around 3, the place was practically deserted, just a couple of truck drivers at the counter, and us tucked away in a booth in the back. Harold gave me a year's severance, Thomas said, swirling his coffee around but not taking a sip. Not as sweet a deal as you got, but hey, it's something. They're pushing an NDA on you, right? Thomas nodded. Yeah, can't breathe a word about company secrets or how they do business for 5 whole years. He let out this harsh, bitter laugh. 40 years in engineering, and now I suddenly can't talk about the work I've done my whole life. He paused. Are you gonna sign it? Don't really have a choice, I admitted. Granddaughter's starting college next year. I slid a business card across the table to him. Douglas Klein, Precision Parts, I explained. He's trying to find a consultant, someone who really knows their stuff about precision hydraulics. No NDA involved. Thomas just stared at the card for a second. Harper would sue my pants off if I took this. Not if you're just, giving advice on general industry stuff, I countered. Nothing secret about that. He slowly slipped the card into his pocket. What's up, Stanley? This isn't like you, getting involved like this. I hadn't mentioned my deal with Douglas to anybody yet, but Thomas deserved to know. We'd worked together for over 10 years. I'm joining Precision, I told him quietly. Douglas is bringing me on to run a new division, specialized hydraulic components. The small batch, high-profit stuff Vanessa thinks is a waste of time. Thomas's eyebrows practically jumped off his face. The custom work, he breathed. Charles always used to say Vanessa was the future of the company. Now she's all about mass production, trying to make it big. She's convinced she can beat those companies overseas on price. No way, Thomas said, blunt as ever. Not with what we pay our people. I knew he was right. Charles knows it, too. Thomas leaned in, a little intense. Is there a reason you're telling me this? You think Charles is mixed up in it? I shook my head. Nah, but I grabbed lunch with Jennifer yesterday. She told me Vanessa's been selling off equipment. That special stuff Charles bought last year for custom jobs. She's already offloaded half of it. That's over $2 million worth of gear, Thomas said, eyes getting huge. And at auction prices, probably got pennies on the dollar. Thomas sat back and it clicked. She's gutting the company, turning everything into cash. I just nodded. And guess who's been buying property in Miami? Oh man, Thomas groaned, running a hand through his hair. Does Charles even know? I don't think so. He built that place for something that would last, not a quick flip. We were quiet for a minute, both of us wrapping our heads around it, not just for us, but for all the employees still at Harper. For Charles's life's work. So, what are you going to do? Thomas finally asked. Build something better, I said, keeping it simple. Something that values both the past and what's coming. With Douglas Klein, Thomas sounded a little doubtful. Douglas is just investing. He's close to retiring himself. Wants to back people who know what they're doing and then take a step back. And let me guess, you need an engineer who knows hydraulics. I actually smiled for the first time in ages. If you want the job, it's yours just like that. Your non-disclosure agreement covers only, real secrets, not just common knowledge. Thomas was staring at me. This isn't just work, is it? For you, I mean, it's personal. It's about what things are worth, I told him. About creating something that sticks around. Honestly, that's all I've ever wanted to do. A couple of months after they canned me, there I was in Douglas Klein's office, checking out blueprints for the new place. It was an old warehouse on Indy's east side, and it was going to be home to Cornerstone Precision, our new project building custom hydraulic parts. Thomas came up with the name. Build from the corners up, he'd said. That's how you make something last. Douglas, this big guy with a white beard and his sleeves always rolled up, spread the supplier contracts on his desk. The machine shop's good to go, he said. They can have the first 5 units ready next month, and the CNC programmer starts Monday. Douglas gave me one of those looks. That guy from Harper said you recommended us. I just nodded. Jason Wright had been at Harper for 6 years, a total genius with computer modeling and getting paid peanuts. Vanessa slashed his department's budget by 30% while she doubled her own pay. He'd quit 2 weeks ago. How many now? Douglas asked. 7, I answered. All the best ones. Douglas whistled. Harper's losing people fast. People follow good leadership, I said, and Vanessa isn't giving it. My phone vibrated a text from Jen. She's still at Harper's, but she's looking out for me. 3 years until retirement, she can't just walk, but she's definitely keeping her ears open. The text had a picture of some internal memo. Production's behind, quality's crap, and 3 huge clients are threatening to ditch us because we're late all the time. I showed it to Doug. He pushed his glasses up his nose to get a better look. Just like we figured, he said. That brain drain's already hitting production. I put my phone away. Honestly, I didn't feel good about it. Harper employs people I've known forever. Folks with houses to pay for, kids in college, parents in nursing homes. This wasn't about hurting them. We need to reach out to Midwest Manufacturing, I told Doug. They're one of Harper's biggest. Tell them we'll be up and running in 2 months. Doug jotted it down. Already got a meeting set for next week, he said. Their buyers are really wanting to chat. I got up and went to the window, looking down at the warehouse. Down below, they were putting in the first bits of equipment. It was the start of something new, something built on valuing both experience and new ideas. My phone rang. It was Charles Harper. I'll take this, I told Doug. He nodded and left, closing the door. Charles, I said. Stanley, his voice was worn out, defeated. We need to talk. I'm listening, I said. He sighed. A big one. I know what you're doing. This new company, they're poaching my people from Harper. I just kept quiet. It wasn't against the law, not even shady, just plain business. Charles wasn't calling to tell me to stop, though. He wanted my help. That really threw me. Help with what? He said it could save what was left of his company. He paused, like he was choosing his words carefully. Vanessa's been selling off stuff, cutting corners, really cheapening the product. The board's freaking out, and so is he. Why tell me all this? Because I'm the only one who knows the whole operation, inside and out. I'm the only one who might see a way out of this mess. Another pause, then he said something that hit me hard. He admitted he should have listened to me months ago, when I told him Vanessa wasn't ready for this. I closed my eyes, thinking about all those years working with Charles, building something we both poured our hearts into. Something that gave hundreds of people jobs, people who trusted us to do right by them. So, what exactly did he want? He said, come to my place tonight, 7 o'clock. Bring Thomas if he's up for it. The board wants to talk options. Options? Yeah, Charles' voice got a little stronger. He meant a change in who's running things. I looked down at our warehouse floor again, at our little but growing business, at the future I was trying to build from the wreckage of that betrayal. Finally, I said, okay, I'll be there, but I'm not making any promises. Fair enough, he said, sounding relieved. Then he said, and Stanley? I said, yeah. He said, thanks for still taking my calls, 6 months after I fired you. I was standing in the back of Harper Machinery's main conference room, just taking it all in. The quarterly meeting kicked off and everyone was there. Vanessa, sitting at the head of the table with her new team, most of them were young, looked super stressed. I wasn't scheduled to talk until the end. That was the deal the board and I had worked out. Let Vanessa go first, let her walk everyone through the quarter. Let her spin the bad news, the 37% dip in earnings, the lost deals, the quality control problems. She was like halfway through her thing, blaming everything on the economy and old problems when she saw me. What's he doing here? She snapped, pointing right at me. Charles, who was sitting with the board members, gave the okay to the chairman, who stood up. Vanessa, the chairman said, the board's made a decision about the leadership. Her face just lost all its color. You can't be serious, she said. Stanley, the chairman went on, turning to me, would you like to tell everyone about the new plan? I got up, holding a folder. It was the same one Harold had put together for my firing 6 months ago, but this time it had a completely different purpose. Harper Machinery is merging with Cornerstone Precision, I said, keeping my voice even. The board okayed the deal this morning. Vanessa let out a sharp laugh. This is ridiculous. I'm the majority shareholder. No, Charles said, standing up slowly. You've got 20%. I still have 51%, and I just voted for the merger. I pushed the folder over to her. Cornerstone will take over Harper's custom hydraulics division. So things are moving forward, Thomas announced, walking in from the hall. I was at the door. Vanessa was going through some papers and her hands were trembling. This is just business, I finished for her. No hard feelings. It was a year later and I was in the bigger factory. It was both Cornerstone Precision and Harper Custom Hydraulics now. Everyone was working hard and the machines were making a good noise. It was music to my ears, something I hadn't heard in a while. Charles came up leaning on his cane. He wasn't doing great physically, but his mood was better. Seeing the company doing well again was the best thing for him. He handed me a report. The quarterly numbers are in, he said. Best in 5 years. I looked over the figures. Profits were up. People were staying, 3 new patents. Charles quietly mentioned that Vanessa had called the other day. From Miami, I didn't say anything. After everything, she took her money and left. No explanation. Charles said she was starting a consulting company, and she asked if he'd put some money in. Charles shook his head. He said he told her to come back to Indianapolis first. Learn the ropes like he did, like I did, and she hung up. He gave me a little sad smile. But he continued, she called again this morning, wondering if the offer was still there. From my vantage point, I saw Jason teaching 2 fresh programmers about our newest system. Jennifer, in her lab coat, was scrutinizing parts with her usual exactness, while Thomas was at a desk, manually drawing a design change before putting it onto the computer. It was amazing experience and fresh ideas, collaborating, not battling. They weren't trying to replace each other, they were making something better together. You know, Charles said, when I wrote that separation clause in your contract, I never thought it would end up like this. I chuckled. Me neither. We just stood there quietly, watching the company we'd both poured our hearts into keep on getting bigger. Some lessons cost a fortune, but the ones that really stick with you, the ones that totally change your view of things, those are always worth whatever you have to pay.